That's the lovely sounds of Song for Bobby by Pyramid. If you've never heard that before, they're an Australian group. Figured I'd play some nice light music this morning as we're starting up. And it is officially time to get started, so let me go ahead and shut this off here. All right, well, it is time for our second Saturday sunrise stream. If you're joining us live, welcome. Glad to have you. Glad that you're here. This is this is only the second time, so this is still kind of a new thing for me. I'm doing it live, so we'll see how things go this week. Last week I actually had plenty of material to cover time-wise, so that was actually really nice. I didn't have to worry about running out of stuff to talk about, running out of stuff to do. And hopefully it'll be the same way this week. Again, I mentioned this last week, and I'll probably mention it every week for a while here. The whole point of this is just for me to basically have an outlet, something I can do every week, something where we can have content coming up on our channel, and a way to kind of just relax, kick back, start your weekend, coming into it kind of easy. Saturday morning, if you're up this early watching it live, thank you so much. Please hit the like button, subscribe button. If you're watching this later in the day or later in the future at some point, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll always appreciate that. So today is August 15th. As you can see right here, it is the best year ever. It's 2020, and this is the best year, hands down. There's just way too much happening. It's way too interesting, way too exciting. I think this is the best year, and will be the best year when we look back on it. Don't you think so, Rusty? Yeah, he thinks so. Rusty and I already got into a little bit of excitement this morning. We took a walk before I gave him some food, so he'd kind of, be busy digesting while we do the live stream. And we had a run-in with a raccoon that was a little exciting. Rusty told me that he wanted to kill the raccoon. He wanted to chase it and then kill it. And I told him that's not the best thing to do this time of morning. I have a show happening in 30 minutes, so we should probably, head back. And eventually he capitulated, and we got it under control. But it was a little touch and go for a minute there. All right, so this morning I'm going to do something a little different, or try to anyways. I'm going to make my window small and make the other window big. I realized last week, whatever we're checking out, if I'm looking at something, reacting, reading something, that it was really small on the screen. So especially if you're watching this on a phone, which a lot of people do, that screen was probably tiny. So my apologies. Again, first time. This will be my second time, so it'll be just a little bit better, hopefully. We're actually going to start off with something my brother sent to me. Let me get this pulled up before I show it to you here. Okay. Now this is a video of something. All right, that looks good. I'll just put me in the corner there. This is a video, and it is called My Joker Performance. I think I know what this is about, but we're about to see. It's called My Joker Performance.
Wanna know how I got these scars? Well,
oh no.
I'm the Joker, baby. Hello, beautiful. Must be running screens. Boy, you are beautiful. Oh, you look nervous. Is it the scars? Wanna know how I got them? Well, I had a wife who was beautiful, just like all of you, who tells me I worry too much, who tells me I ought to smile more, who gets in deep and gambles with sharks. One day, call the face.
Oh
He
no.
ain't got no money for surgeries.
Oh no.
I just want to see her smile again. I want her to let her know that I don't care about the scars. Take a razor. Leave my mouth. I do this to myself. And it's like that.
Oh no.
She can't stand me. She leaves. And now I see the funny side. And now I'm always smiling.
A little laugh at the end was the best. So that's one that I think I have seen before. Mark and I like to say that I'm the Joker, baby. You know what though? Props to the kid. He has what you need to be a successful actor, which is he showed up and he knew all his lines. So I mean, hey, he's kind of on his way right there. Let's see what else we got going on. Oh, okay. This purports to be the greatest cereal commercial of all time. The greatest. And this Dan said this to me, so you know it must be the greatest. We're about to see why this is the greatest cereal commercial.
I'm starving. What's for breakfast?
Guten Tag!
I
bring you up in rich Dresden.
Oh, Raisinballs.
Increased test scores and creative problem-solving skills.
It's good.
He's surprised. It's good.
Susie? Don't worry, that's just the power of the arts!
Feed your kids the arts. For 10 simple ways to learn how, visit AmericansForTheArts.org.
That's because that's what we need. Is for all of our kids to grow long beards. All right, so that was special. That was the greatest cereal commercial of all time. And all these I'm gonna have this stuff linked in the description or in a pinned comment, maybe a pinned comment. So if you ever do want to watch any of the stupid stuff that we pull up on here, or read any of the articles or whatever, it'll be in there. Do we have anyone joining us live? I don't think we do. I think it's just me, which is awesome. Just nice and quiet. Me and Rusty, we're just gonna have a good time with this. All right, so this video is a personal favorite of mine. And the only reason I thought of it is because I can't get this song out of my head. So if you're one who gets songs stuck in your head, you may want to skip ahead by like 2 to 3 minutes, because this will be stuck in your head and you will regret this. I guarantee it.
Unwelcome sight in the neighborhood.
Okay, that's just a little bit of context because it doesn't really help, but it is slightly, in case you can't tell, this is a city council meeting in Seattle. And this was actually, I believe, last year sometime. This particular video looks like it was from February, but I want to say it was older than that. But it could have been in February of this year. Regardless, it was before coronavirus and all that mess. So, but Seattle is just as special as ever.
A developer is being greedy. There's a hole in the sky where a tree once stood. Such a lack of life and sound. All that's left is bare, muddy ground. A magnificent tree was murdered. The mighty dollar cut it down. There's a hole in the sky where the tree once was. Somebody's making money. Stand up. There's a hole
Stand
in the
up.
sky
Everyone
where
needs
the
to sing
tree
along.
once was. Somebody's making money. Laws protect exceptional trees, but the city grants exemptions to these. Instead, they reward the developer's greed and sanction the murderer's deeds. There's a
Hole in the sky where a tree once was. Somebody's making money. Oh man.
Somebody's making money. No more leaves shimmering with golden light. No more gentle shedding of rain. Nor tulip blossoms rustling in
I like
the
how everyone
wind.
else doesn't know what to do while she's
Now
singing the
nothing
solo.
remains but that hole in the sky where
The tree once
was. Somebody's making money.
Imagine-
There's a hole
I'm imagining this is a universe where musicals exist, and you're basically required to participate. Based on her attitude, that's how things should be working.
Instead of a spreading canopy, there's a hole in the sky. Instead of a 90-year-old tree, there's a hole in the sky.
That's
That tree
fine.
did not belong to you or me. There's a hole in the sky where the tree should be.
She told them.
Pass the tree ordinance now. Stop.
Pass it now. I like the demand there. Oh man, that was a Seattle City Council, and I mean there you go. Can you really add much commentary to that? I don't know if you really can. Oh boy. So that's some of our silliness. First off, this morning, Let's see, what do we want to pull up in here next? Okay, so I actually got a couple of videos from one of my brothers about this this thing called the Magnus Effect. So I'm gonna just go into that really quickly so it makes sense, and so we understand what we're looking at, because he sent me a couple videos talking about this, and because we do research all the time on things that we might implement for different types of flying apparatus, all kinds of different stuff. So this is just something we were looking at. Magnus Effect is an observable phenomenon. Is this? Oh, this is backwards. I think I put it backwards because I didn't want to get any copyright issues, so I'll just read it for you. The Magnus Effect is an observable phenomenon that is commonly associated with a spinning object moving through the air or another fluid. The path of the spinning object is deflected in a manner that's not present when the object is not spinning. You still with me? The deflection can be explained by the difference in pressure of the fluid on opposite sides of the spinning object. The Magnus Effect depends on the speed of rotation. So you can see here, if you can see, I guess you can't see. Anyways, yeah, it's a spinning effect, downwards force on a top spinning cylinder. Yeah, so named after Heinrich Gustav Magnus. Gustav, the German physicist who investigated it. I like that sentence. He investigated it. All right, so let's see. Here's somebody using the Magnus Effect on an RC plane. Apparently he just took it. Oh, there we are. Oh, so you see how the spinning creates the lift. Needs more power.
Boss man, it's flying.
That's kind of cool. That looks whack.
Ross, it's cruising. Make it smaller.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it looks pretty cool. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's just it's just neat. I don't know if it would have any greater practical application, but it's kind of cool. So that guy made an RC plane using that to fly. So that's pretty cool. But then there's this other video he sent me. He said this is also related. So we're going to see. This is Echo Fletner, a sailing machine. I don't know what that means.
The shipping industry is faced with the challenge of developing energy-efficient ship designs compromising innovative technology. In 2020, sulfur limits for fuel will globally apply. Diesel quality fuels demand a premium estimated to be 50% of heavy fuel oil price. Also, CO2 emission charges could become effective.
Okay, so let's get to the thing we're talking about. This is a sales pitch, it looks like.
In 1925, the Bukau implemented a piece of technology which was extremely innovative for their time. This is the foundation for the following concept. It was the first rotor ship in the world. The wind hybrid coaster consists of the creative ideas and expertise of 15 maritime partners. This resulted in an innovative concept that meets and exceeds all current demands. The wind hybrid coaster can introduce 10 to 30% fuel savings, resulting in less CO2, SOx, NOx and other emissions.
Nice, okay.
This 10 to 30% savings are based on the annual average. The Eco-Flatner rotors act additively to the propeller and can take over 100% of ship propulsion under optimal wind conditions. The rotor drive is therefore a full functional and independent propulsion system.
Wow.
The ship's main engine consists of 5 300 kilowatt generators powering an electric motor with the respective required energy power up to 1200 kilowatt.
Well, it looks
This
kind of
power
goofy.
allows a service speed of about 12 knots.
I'm also wondering how that
The ship has a cargo
height
capacity
would affect
of
things.
about 4,000 deadweight tons. Under engine operation, the ship carries 3.3 tons per kilowatt. This ratio increased to 26.7 tons in pure sailing operation. the Wind Hybrid coaster implements the rotor technology using 2 eco-flattener rotors on the main deck. This assistive wind propulsion system consists of 2 18-meter high and 3-meter wide eco-flattener rotors with a sail area of
More
108.
details on that. And here they're showing the
This
top
force
down,
is called the
talking about the
Magnus
Magnus and how that's what propels it forward.
By rotating of the eco
So what's interesting about this is that the, as you saw earlier with the RC plane, the Magnus effect is not affected by gravity necessarily. It's something that is based upon the rotation. Because you can see here that here the ship is moving horizontally, and the RC plane obviously was moving vertically. But they're using that same Magnus effect, whether it's spinning this way or spinning that way, to their advantage, which is really interesting because that whole concept of lift is then flipped on its side for this. But we don't see that same thing applied, at least not in the same way, when it comes to other types of propulsion, like jet propulsion. We don't see that put on ships, at least that I know of. I could be totally ignorant on that. But this is an interesting way of achieving this.
flattener rotors, the wind flow at the front of the cylinder is accelerated. This results into a suction effect. At the back of the cylinders, high pressure is built up. The combined pressures create the driving sail force and pushes the ship forward.
So it's funny because it's not the same as regular propulsion, or even the way that, for example, a car works, where it's rotating the tires and that's creating friction, which is basically pulling the car through the tires. What you're doing is you're basically, the tires are grabbing and pulling the car forward, and that's what's happening as the tires are rolling. This is different because it's basically getting pulled forward by pressure differential. So it's almost like it's falling forward the whole time. So it's kind of an interesting thing, as opposed to it being pushed or propelled by a propeller, a literal spinny propeller, or some kind of a jet or something like that would be pushing the mass forward.
The effectiveness of the rotors is dependent on the ship's course, wind speed, and direction.
That would be one thing to take into account. Wind, just like with a sail, wind would be extremely important, whether it's up, down, left, right, how strong it is. That, I would think, would affect the effectiveness of this.
This diagram
think the
shows the
cat may be
generation
out
of
and about
propulsion
now.
power depending on wind direction and speed. Versus a current conventional freighter. The trading route from Rotterdam to Istanbul is
Okay,
being used
this
for
is what I was
example.
curious about, is compared to what currently exists.
As seen on the graph, the wind hybrid coaster speed and fuel savings are impressively high in comparison with the current conventional freighter.
So based on their little simulation here, I'm not seeing a gigantic difference, but it does seem to be better. I mean, over the course of 12 days, it's only one ship's length ahead. So it's not really moving that much faster. The
On this
efficiency
voyage
would
from
be the
Rotterdam
thing
to Istanbul,
that would
the
make
wind
it
hybrid
worth
coaster
it.
could reduce fuel consumption and emissions. Alternatively, the ship could arrive 28 hours earlier.
That would definitely affect shipping companies and that kind of stuff. Alright. I think we've seen about enough of that. So that is that's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. When's this from? This is from 2015. See, this is what I hate about this kind of stuff. Did anyone ever used to read Popular Science or Popular Mechanics? Those magazines are so annoying to me because of all the really, really cool stuff that they show you. And they're like, look what's possible. Look what's right around the corner. And more than half of that stuff never actually materializes. It never becomes an actual product. It never actually reaches the market. And so it just really aggravates the fire out of me, because you'll see this really cool stuff, but nobody ever developed it, or there was no funding, or whatever it is. It just didn't happen. And then that stuff just gets abandoned in favor of the next iJobby whatever. It's just, I don't know, like I said, it gets frustrating. I can't dwell on that stuff too much. This is interesting, though. We've talked about when it comes to propulsion, when it comes to engine efficiencies, things like that. We've talked about things like this, like the Magnus Effect, like other similar things that people are not actually using mainstream, but could possibly change things if someone was to develop an actual product that uses this. So it looks like there was talk and thoughts of it, but I've never seen this materialize. So we shall see. All right, so that was our sailing machine. That's our Magnus Effect stuff. Then we've got this absurd creatures, and I don't know how absurd these creatures are. It's this comb jellies. So let's check this out.
Be warned. This is what happens when you eat too many Skittles, or sprinkles, maybe or brownies, or, even better, all three at once. This is the ocean's majestic comb jelly. You'd think that those rippling bands of colors would be a case of bioluminescence, which so many sea creatures deploy. But in reality, this has more to do with the critter's locomotion. Like jellyfish, comb jellies are squishy and lack a brain, though they do have a nervous system and sensors for orientation. But they get around a bit differently than jellyfish, and that's where the light show comes in. While jellyfish swim with those famous full-body contractions, the comb jelly moves around with special flittering hairs called cilia. When white light hits these filaments, it's broken out into its different colors, hence the "I've eaten way too many Skittles" effect. But oddly enough, this probably never happens with regular old light from the sun. Scientists have to hit them with beams from submersibles in order to get the shimmer. Comb jellies have tentacles just like true jellyfish, but theirs are sticky as opposed to stinging. Depending on the species, some will dangle long lines to snag food, including tiny plankton.
Right, so what we're seeing is not light. There's not,
like the world's most badass beard.
it's not being lit from itself.
And still others have cilia that are modified into serrated teeth. These species eat other jellies, using their chompers to ratchet themselves over their victims. Think of comb jellies as the spiders of the sea. Arachnids have all
Okay, so basically they have little hairs that are reflecting light. That's why they look cool. I don't know, I was expecting that to be a little more groundbreaking, but all right. I'm just going to open this one because it keeps wanting to open. Why are teeth not considered bones? Now, this to me was groundbreaking. This hit me hard because I always just assumed in my mind, well, of course teeth are bones. And that's as far as I got. But apparently, they are not actually bones. Teeth and bones are both hard, white, and heavy with calcium, but that doesn't make them one and the same. From the way they look to how they heal, teeth are quite different from the body's bones. Teeth are composed of calcium, phosphorus, other minerals. Bones contain calcium, phosphorus, sodium, and other minerals, but mostly consists of the protein collagen. Collagen is a living growing tissue that gives bones their a flexible framework. Come on, people, check your grammar. Calcium fills in the space around that framework and makes the bones strong enough to support the body's weight. But bones are still not as strong as teeth. And this was an interesting thought because the hardest thing you've ever bit down on and how much pressure, if you can imagine how much pressure you're putting directly on your teeth when you're biting into something, especially those molars if you're really chomping into something. And then you imagine that kind of pressure being put in that kind of limited space to any one of your bones, like your finger or something, and you can imagine it would break. You wouldn't want to try. It's the hardest part of the human body, and it is mostly consists of a calcified tissue called dentine or dentine. Tooth dentine tissue is covered in enamel, that hard, shiny layer that you can brush. So they are different. They're not bones. Tooth enamel doesn't have the same regenerative powers as bones. Teeth cannot heal themselves. So teeth are harder and stronger, but they cannot heal themselves or grow back together if they're broken. Like when a tooth fractures, if you ever chipped your tooth, it doesn't grow back. It's gone. But with a bone, if your bone fractures, well, that'll grow back. You might have it might not grow the same way, obviously, but it will grow back. One last difference is that our teeth are bare and on display, while bones are safely tucked away inside your skin. So while you may occasionally use whitening strips to keep your pearly whites looking white, you don't have to worry about your bones yellowing. So just a little food for thought. It's kind of an interesting one, and again, one that I just had never even thought about, and then when I saw that today, I think it was on a Reddit comment, and I was like, teeth aren't bones. They can't be bones. It's just, wow. Anyways, I thought you might enjoy that. Let's see what else we got here. Let's do the Muppet Show first, and then we'll do another science video. We've got a couple more minutes before we're out of time. This says the Muppet Show, Muppet Labs, robot politician. I have no context on this.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to witness one of the wonders of modern science, as envisioned by the incredible Mr. Peter Ustinov. We take you now to Muppet Labs.
In case you're not aware, Peter Ustinov was a legend. This guy was in such fantastic films as Blackbeard's Ghost. So if you want a good time, go look up Blackbeard's Ghost. Amazing, amazing movie. Peter Ustinov, what's really cool though, especially if you've seen Peter Ustinov act, or David Niven, if you know that name, if you've seen either of them act, and thinking about that they were in the war together, and I believe Ustinov was Bat Boy, as the term is called, to David Niven, which Bat Boy is basically, is it Bat Boy? It's not Batman, I know that. I think it's Bat Boy. But it's how they refer to when they have, I know I'm going to get this wrong, it's either a lieutenant or a colonel, and then whoever's right under him, basically his sidekick, for lack of a better term, his man-at-arms, the one who's basically covering everything for him, who keeps an eye on him to make sure things are working. It's a second-in-command right under him, and they work very closely together. And it's interesting thinking about these two guys. I mean, I have no idea what this video is going to be about, but Ustinov and David Niven became successful actors after the fact, but that in the war, they were in the foxholes, they were together doing all of this. Well, this relationship's really interesting because it's the exact same relationship that J.R.R. Tolkien had with another man, and based his, and I don't remember if he was in charge or if he was the one directly under the other man, but he based the relationship between Samwise Gamgee and Frodo Baggins in his Lord of the Rings trilogy on this relationship, this concept of these two men. One of them is in charge and he has the mission, and the other one is basically his go-to man. He's going to help him out. He's going to do everything he can. And obviously you can see that in the story with Frodo and Samwise, how Samwise is always right there with him. He's helping him out. He's doing everything he can. And he's almost more than a friend in many ways. He's extremely loyal and is just going to the nth degree to make sure that Frodo accomplishes his mission and is able to survive and is comfortable and all these things. Just taking care of him and his well-being is of his utmost concern. And so it's a much, it's in some ways it is a friendship. In some ways it's a comradeship. You know, if you're at war side by side with someone like that, you're going to be bonded in a way that cannot be described in other relationships. You know, regular friendships or other relationships you have outside of that are never going to be quite the same. So you're a friend, you're also a soldier, you're also, not an employee, but you're underneath, you're subordinate to this person. And so it's just a really neat picture of life back then, life in the war, all this kind of stuff. And I thought it was really interesting. Every time I see Ustinov, I'm reminded of that relationship he had with David Niven, and then knowing that that was the same relationship Tolkien was basing those characters on. So, I don't know, complete rabbit trail, but, that's probably why you're watching, right? If you're still watching. So, let's get back to The Muppet Show with Peter Ustinov.
Hello, I'm Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. And here at Muppet Labs, we think we have finally made a major scientific breakthrough in the field of international statesmanship. So it is with incalculable pride that I give you the new robot politician. Yes, this electronic politician will end corruption in government forever. Furthermore, it is absolutely international. For instance, the robot politician would make an excellent British Prime Minister. Watch.
Although the skies are dark and the road ahead is steep, yet with perseverance we can, nay, we shall.
Thank you. And on the other hand, with equal ease, he could be an American president.
And I tell you, my friends, this is the greatest country in the world. Stands ready to forge ahead, bring peace to the world, offer arms to all nations.
Enough of that. How about a Russian premier?
The Russian people will not rub the salt agreement into the wounds. Oh, the People Republic of China objects to the running dog tone of this small stone.
China.
The Middle East bloc must stand firm in
It's just-
the belief. La France éternelle, plus grand en que la grignola italiano, non posso più che das deutsche Volk muss unter allen Umständen das means vor.
Well, back to the drawing board. Mr. Ustinov?
A masterful performance.
Reminiscent of the late Rudolf Besser.
Rudolph Besser is dead?
No, he's late. He was supposed to be here.
Adler, you always get me with that same dumb joke.
Maybe it's not the joke that's dumb, if you catch my drift.
Oh man, I love the. I haven't watched that show in a long time. It's funny because that's actually. I didn't realize that's what the sketch was. That's actually a concept I believe Dan and I had discussed at one point, was floating the idea of if you could create a government that was run by an artificial intelligence, how much more perfect would it be, because you're removing the selfishness and the innate the money hunger and the greed and the power hunger that a human would have in that position. And anyways, that's another one that's just, when you gotta go down that thought trail, it's really interesting, the implications of what that could be like. But nonetheless, that was a good one with Peter Ustinov, The Muppet Show, classic. All right, so I got two more here, and then we'll be out. This is an acoustic hologram, I guess. I don't know what that entails.
This tiny paper boat is being pushed along by an acoustic hologram. The ripple on the surface of the water is created by ultrasonic waves emanating from a speaker underneath.
Ooh.
But, crucially, the waves coming from the speaker pass through a hologram plate. Some parts of this plate are thicker than others. Where it's thicker, the waves take longer to pass through, and this creates a distortion pattern. As the waves reach the surface, they form the shape of the ripple. Tiny invisible movements, a bit like a Mexican wave going around the circle, push the boat along.
A what? A Mexican
Using
wave?
this technique, researchers can create all
What is
kinds
that?
of patterns, like this dove. First, the team plugs the dove design into a computer, which works out the structure of the hologram plate. A standard 3D printer can then turn this digital structure into the physical plate. In this case, when this is placed in front of an ultrasonic speaker, the acoustic waves push small particles floating in the water into place, revealing the dove. It works for 3D patterns too. Here, the team is projecting an acoustic pattern in air, the plate's at the top. Of course, you can't see the air vibrating, but adding 2 drops of water reveals the effect. The vibrating air molecules hold the drops in place so they hover. And spraying with water reveals even more of the hologram.
Interesting.
This type of effect has been achieved before, using an array of speakers without the hologram plate.
Can you hear the neighbor's
By
rooster?
tuning many speakers, researchers
it's
can
morning.
change the pattern of vibrations in a way that allows them to move small beads around, for example.
It's like
This array
levitation.
uses 64 speakers. But to make more complex patterns, you need even more. By comparison, combining one speaker with a single 3D printed hologram plate is equivalent to an array of about 20,000 speakers. Techniques like these could one day have applications in medicine. Doctors already use ultrasound to treat problems like kidney stones. This technique could help them to focus the ultrasound pattern right where it's needed. But, for now, researchers are having fun getting to grips with the 1, 2, 3 of acoustic hologram design.
Wow, well, that's pretty neat. Acoustic holograms. That is really interesting. It's amazing what all can be manipulated, moved around by vibrations. How much vibrations are a part of everything around us. Everything technically has a frequency. That's why it is at the state it's in, is because it's vibrating at that state. That's pretty interesting stuff. All right, so we're out of time, but I wanted to finish up with this just because it just cracked me up. Okay, so this is a tweet thread. This was the original tweet thread. I got turned on to this by seeing an article somewhere, and then I chased it down, and I found the actual original thing. This is from March of last year. This is just how the world is now. This guy says, this is Gideon Lickfield, who wrote a piece for Tech Review, and he says, I accidentally deleted blah blah blah. A few days ago, we ran this piece in Tech Review, this is March of last year, about some research purporting to explain the hipster effect, the fact that nonconformists often end up nonconforming in the same way. And you'll see this with all kinds of nonconforming groups like goths and hipsters and people. We used a stock Getty photo of a hipster-ish looking man. Getty Images provides tons of stock footage to everyone, so yeah, it's pretty common to use them for news articles and such. We used a stock Getty photo of a hipster-ish looking man. We promptly got a furious email from a man who said he was the guy in the photo. Okay. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. He accused us of slandering him, presumably by implying he was a hipster, and of using the pic without his permission. He wasn't too complimentary about the story either. So this guy sees a picture of the hipster in the story and says, hey, that's me. I don't like the fact that you're calling me a hipster. Now, as far as I know, calling someone a hipster isn't slander, no matter how much they may hate it. Still, we would never use a picture without the proper license or model release, so we checked the license. The image does have restrictions, e.g. if you use it in connection with a subject that would be unflattering or unduly controversial to a reasonable person, for example, sexually transmitted diseases. You should say that the person in it is a model. So it's just like when they show you on a cop show and they said reenactment really big at the bottom. So you understand, you're just nailing home that, hey, idiot, like this is not real, this didn't really happen, this is just a facsimile of what happened. We weren't implying that the model had an STD, or only that he was a hipster. So it didn't seem like too egregious of a thing to do. We didn't think this met the definition of unflattering or unduly controversial, but we thought of swapping it out for a different picture anyways, because, who needs the hassle? But Eric Mongion, the Tech Review's fearless creative director, said, over my dead body, are we taking down a perfectly good image because some dude doesn't like being called a hipster? Or words to that effect. So they contacted Getty Images. Getty looked in their archive for the model release and came back with this surprising news. The model's name was not the name of their angry hipster hater. In other words, the guy who threatened to sue for misusing his image wasn't the one in the photo. He had misidentified himself, which just proves the story that they ran. Hipsters look so much alike that they can't even tell themselves apart from each other. I just love that kind of stuff. Let me get this out of the way here. So yeah, if you're a hipster and you're angry that people think you look like all other hipsters, well, that's what you get for being a hipster. Or of any group like that of non-conforming, but you actually look like everyone else. We are out of time. It is 7:20 a.m. The sun, as you can see, is fully up, and I'd like to thank you for joining me. If you did join me, if you watched this live, thank you so much. If you're watching this later, thank you so much. It doesn't count as much, but we still appreciate it. No, this is a good time. I know that today I didn't have quite as much exciting things going on. Just kind of ran through a couple clips and stuff, but rest assured, next week we're going to be even better than this week. We're going to keep on working to make this just a little more fun, just kind of a little bright spot in your week, hopefully. If you got any ideas, if you have anything you want me to add, throw it in the comment section. Be sure and check out on Twitter. We've got we have a hashtag now that is sunrise. Let me make sure I get it right, because I believe I just listed it as, Saturday Sunrise Stream. Or you can tweet at MORPHITE Online on Twitter, hashtag Saturday Sunrise Stream, and we'll throw that out, anything we get on there. I won't look at it until the day of, the morning of. I only look at the stuff I'm going to be looking at, 5-10 minutes before, just to make sure it's not anything rude, crude, or uncouth. But if it's not, if it looks cool, then I'll be looking over it, reviewing it, talking about it, whatever, throwing my commentary on it. If you have a song you think I should do, and you could find a decent like karaoke version or something like that, I might do that. I didn't really have a song ready this week, but we'll do some songs. We'll do some other stuff. I did get a thought from someone. I didn't have a book ready, so I didn't do it today, but I did get a thought from someone of doing a live book review, a live book reaction. So we may be doing that in the coming weeks. If you got any other ideas, throw them in the comments or shoot them out to us again on Twitter at MORPHITE Online. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we'll be back once again next week, 15 minutes before sunrise, going to 15 minutes after, or roughly thereabouts. So here in Indianapolis anyways, we're on UT something, I don't know. We're doing daylight savings right now, but all I know is the time it is here. I don't know if you're not on the right time zone, I don't know what to tell you. You got to figure it out. All right, thanks again, and we'll see you guys later.